everyone, welcome back to the library. I'm Laura. Today I'm going to be showing you a book haul that I did at the end of October, but I'm just now getting time to film it. So my library has a bookstore that is run by volunteers, and they were having a sale at the end of October where you could fill up a box full of books, and it was only $15 for the whole box of books. So I went and I filled up a box and got 31 books for $15, so that's really less than 50 cents for each book, which is a really good deal. Most of the books I got are in awesome condition, so let's get started with the fiction books that I picked up. The first two books I picked up are by Khaled Hosseini, and I got A Thousand Splendid Suns and the Mountains Echoed. I was really excited to find both of these in very good shape in hardback. This year I read A Thousand Splendid Suns and really loved it too, probably one of my favorite books of all time. If you don't know, Khaled Hosseini is from Afghanistan, and all the books he writes are set in Afghanistan or have parts of them that relate to Afghanistan. I'm not too sure about the plot of this one because I haven't read it yet, but I'm hoping to get into this probably next year. I'm really excited that I got these. The next book I found is The Kitchen House by Kathleen Grissom. Now, I had heard about this book on April from Getting Hooga with its channel. She read this, I believe, in October and absolutely loved it. So this book is about a girl named Lavinia who is orphaned and is sold as a slave in the U.S. She is white, but she is sold as a slave to a family, and she is basically raised by the one of the slaves and her daughter, who is the illegitimate child of the slave owner. And like I said, apparently this is a great book, and I'm excited to get into it. The next book that I picked up is Still Alice by Lisa Janome. Now, this book is about Alice Howland, who is a cognitive psychology professor at Harvard and also an expert in linguistics. But she starts to become disoriented and is forgetting things, and it turns out that she has early onset Alzheimer's. This is going to be heartbreaking, but I really enjoy these types of books. I really like sad books, and I like that has the psychology aspect to it, and I'm excited to read this. The next book that I found is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This book is about the Buendia family in the mythical town of Macondo. It's a rise and fall of this town, and it's just a family story. It has magical realism aspects, which I'm really excited about, and I've just heard this book is really good. The next book, I'm not really sure why I picked it up, but I saw it. The Girl on the Train. When the movie was coming out, I read the synopsis for some reason on Wikipedia, like the whole plot, and so I really know what happens, at least with the movie version. I'm not really that interested in this because I haven't heard the greatest things about it. This is also the large print edition because that's what they had. Anyways, like I said, not really sure why I picked this up, but I will probably read it eventually. The next book I found that I was excited about is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, and this is by Mark Haddon. And this is about a boy named Christopher John Francis Boone who is autistic, and when one of his neighbors' dogs dies in a very suspicious manner, he is set out to find out what happened to the dog. I've heard this is a great book. The next book I found is Cold Mountain by Charles Frazier, and this is a book about a man who fought in the Civil War and is coming home to the woman that he loves. So it's just the story about his journey back home. I've heard this is an amazing book. I can't remember who I got the recommendation from, but I've just heard only great things about this. Next, I found The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen. I really don't know that much about this book. Like, the day before I picked this up, I was watching I think a book haul from Sean from Eclectic Reads, and he mentioned that he had picked up this book and that it sounded interesting, so hopefully I'll be able to get to this. The next book I picked up is The Roundhouse by Louise Erdrich. I didn't know anything about this book. I just saw the spine and I picked it up because it looked pretty, and I read about it on Goodreads and it had pretty good reviews, so I decided that I would take it home with me. The next thing I found is like the most hilarious thing ever, and it is The Jedi Doth Return by Ian Doescher. And I guess this is just a rewriting of Return of the Jedi, and it sounds hilarious. Maybe when I'm having a bad day I can pick this up and it can bring up my spirits because it just sounds great. The next book I found is The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton, and this book is about a young girl who marries an illustrious merchant trader in 1686, and she doesn't really know what to do with her life since she's gotten married and she's so young, but her husband ends up giving her a cabinet-sized replica of their home. It seems like these things are moving and changing inside this replica, and the main character just ends up finding out more about her husband's family and this household, and it just sounds really interesting. I've heard good things about it. The next book that I picked up is People of the Book by Geraldine Brooks, and this is a book about Hannah Heath, who is an Australian rare book expert, and she is given the job to analyze and conserve the famed Sarajevo Haggadah. And because of certain things that she finds in this book, she's able to learn about it and unlock the mysteries of it, and it just sounds really good. I've heard good things about it, so I'm excited to read this eventually. Next, I got Shanghai Girls by Lisa C., and this book is about two girls, the Chin sisters, who are sent to Los Angeles to be Chinese brides because their father has gambled away all of his wealth and there are Japanese bombs falling on Shanghai. So this is just about their journey to a new land to live in that they have no idea about, and kind of about the ups and downs of their sisterhood. And I've heard really good things about this. This is the first book in a series that I've heard is really great, and I've heard Lisa C. is a great writer. Next, I picked up The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. I've wanted to pick this up several times at Half Price Books, but have never actually made the purchase. I always put it back, but I decided since I found it there, I would go ahead and get it. Now, this book is about a girl who is kidnapped and killed, and kind of about her looking down from the in-between and seeing everything that is happening after her death, and telling the story of what happened. Next, I saw this little copy of The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, and I decided to pick it up because it was in good condition. To be honest, I know this is a classic. I never read it in high school. I don't really know anything about The Catcher in the Rye. It doesn't even have anything on the back that says what it's about at all. I'll read this eventually. I also picked up Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton. Also know this is a classic that's supposed to be really good. Don't know that much about it. Heard about it on the Reddit book subreddit. Also, kind of the same with Catcher in the Rye. I'll read this eventually. I have no idea what it's about. So the next book that I picked up was The Paying Guest by Sarah Waters, and this is about a woman and her older spinster daughter who taken a couple to their house so that they can make some extra money. The daughter becomes friends with the wife of the couple. They become really close, secrets get told, drama ensues. I believe I heard about this on April's channel again, and I've heard that Sarah Waters is a great writer and this is a good book. Next, I picked up Graceling by Kristen Cashore. I had heard about this book on someone's channel, that it was a really good YA book. I saw it on the stack of YA books in the back of the store, and then when I got home and was taking all my books out, I realized that this is in Spanish. And I can't really read Spanish, to be honest. I can read a little bit, speak a little bit. I'm probably just gonna take this back to Half Price Books. Or give it to my boyfriend. Maybe he'll want to read it since he's bilingual, but probably not. Next, I picked up The Opposite of Loneliness by Marina Keegan, and this is a collection of short stories and essays by this girl on the cover. Now, Marina Keegan graduated from Yale in 2012, and 5 days after she graduated, she was killed in a car accident, and which is very tragic, but her family decided to publish her stories and essays. I've heard this is a really great collection. This is of course going to be very sad to read, but hopefully it captures the memory of Marina and shows insight into this very intellectual young lady's life. Next, I found The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova, and this book is about a young woman who is in her father's office and finds a cache of letters and a strange book. And she reads the letters, and they say, "To my dear and unfortunate successor," which I believe is her father. And she ends up finding out all these secrets and about her father's past and her mother's mysteries. And apparently we also are going on a quest about the truth about Vlad the Impaler and Dracula. And I don't know that much, but I've seen this on some other booktuber shelves and thought it would be interesting to read eventually. Next, I picked up The Dinner by Herman Koch, and this is a book about two families who meet to have dinner because both of their sons have done something horrible and they are meeting to talk about it. Somewhat unsettling, but also written really well with an unreliable narrator, so I'm excited to pick this up eventually. I picked up 2 books by Cormac McCarthy. I picked up Child of God, which is supposed to be one of his more messed up books, even though they all are. I don't know that much about this one, but apparently it's somewhat horrifying. Probably wouldn't be recommended to most people, especially if you like happy things. And I also got All the Pretty Horses by him, which I've heard is supposed to be more literary writing and is about a boy who grew up on a ranch, I believe, and he leaves to Mexico. I believe this is also a trilogy, and like I said, it's just supposed to have great writing, and I'm excited to get to this. Hopefully it'll be a little happier than his other books. I picked up Not a Drop to Drink by Mindy McGinnis, and this is set in a world where water is sparse. Our main character is a young girl who grows up with her mother, and they have a pond, and they pretty much have to protect it, even going so far as, I believe, to kill people to protect it. When her mother passes away, the main character has to kind of fend for herself, and I believe realizes that you have to sometimes help people in the world, even if that means giving up something of yours. This sounds very interesting. I'm hoping I'll enjoy it. I saw Reconstructing Amelia by Kimberly McCreight and decided to pick it up too. I got this because we're reading it next year in the Dying to Read book club on Goodreads. That is the book club of April from Getting Hooga With It, who I've already mentioned a couple of times. And this book is about a mother who finds out that her daughter Amelia has committed suicide by jumping off of a building. Now when she gets there, she gets a text that says that Amelia didn't jump, so she basically has to figure out what has happened, what was going on with her daughter's life, and why she didn't know all these things were happening. Sounds very interesting, hopefully kind of creepy, and I'll get to this whenever we read it next year. And the last fiction book I got is 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami, and this is just a retelling, as I believe, of 1984, but in Tokyo, and I'm really excited about this. I don't know that much about it, but I've heard really good things. So now to end with, I got a few nonfiction books, and I will show you those. The first 2 books I got are And the Good News Is, and Let Me Tell You About Jasper by Dana Perino. If you don't know, Dana Perino was President Bush's White House press secretary. I actually picked these 2 books up for my parents, but they had already read both of them, so I decided I'd just keep them and read them both, and when I'm done, if I like them, I'll keep them. If not, I can take them back to Half Price Books. Now, And the Good News is about her time as White House press secretary. And this just sounds interesting from a historical perspective to find out what it was like to work in the White House and with the president. So I'm pretty interested to read this. And Let Me Tell You About Jasper is about her dog, and he's really cute. I think she apparently talks about him all the time on the show she's on Fox. I don't watch Fox News, but my parents do. And he's really cute. They have all these different like photoshops of him. It just seems cute. I might not keep it, like I said, but I'll have it to read if I get interested. Next, I picked up a copy of I Am Malala that I saw. If you don't know, I Am Malala is about Malala, who was shot by the Taliban for fighting for women's education. She was the youngest ever nominee for the Nobel Peace Prize at 16, and I just think her story is inspiring, and I haven't read it yet, and I would love to read it soon. And the last book that I picked up is Born Standing Up by Steve Martin. I love Steve Martin in The Jerk and Father the Bride, and this is just about his rise in the comedy world, and I think probably a little bit about him growing up. I'm really excited to read this. It sounds really fun. So those are all the books that I picked up at the end of October. Sorry that it's taken me so long to upload another video, but starting now I'll be uploading again, hopefully 1 to 2 videos a week. I was just really excited to film this for you. Let me know if you've read any of these books and have liked them or haven't liked them, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.